Hello, friends. Today is Friday, August 9th, 2024, and this is episode 244 of My Imaginary Friends. I'm Leslye, and we are recording live on YouTube again for this episode. I know I've been away, and I'm back, I think. As a reminder, you can sign up for the Footnotes newsletter, which includes the show notes for each episode, as well as inspiration, strategies, and ideas to help you grow as a writer and a creative. That is at myimaginaryfriends.net/footnotes. When you sign up, you can choose to become an imaginary best friend for a few dollars a month and get access to premium posts, which are long-form craft essays, as well as discounts on my courses. And I should be doing a premium post today. Also, when I'm not podcasting, sometimes I'm still doing the the Footnotes newsletter. Sometimes I'm not. It's been rough. But this week's best thing. So this week's best thing, I think I'm going to go with Artist Morning, which I believe I've talked about on the podcast before. It is a weekly online group that does meditation and journaling and conversation. And it is Friday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern time. If you go to artistmorning.com, I will put the link in the show notes. I've really been enjoying it. I do it every Friday morning that I am able to, and it helps me meditate more regularly. It helps me journal regularly, and it's a really inspiring space. Um, so I just actually, as I'm recording, I did it right here. Finished doing it this week. It's really valuable to me, and I recommend it if you're available. And they also have recordings. So if you're not available Fridays at 9 a.m. Eastern, you can watch the recordings and participate that way. So that is always really fun. So my writing update, what have I been up to? It's been quite a bit since I've had a podcast. And let's see if I can remember what I've been up to. Well, I've been doing the same things that I've been doing all year. Actually, what I was journaling about this morning was a little bit of frustration with the fact that it is August and these full 7 months, going into 8 months of this year, I haven't written a book. I've been working, I've been plotting, I've been doing proposals. I wrote one short story that's going to be in an anthology. But other than that, this is the first time since 2013 that I have not been consistently working on a book project for this long. Now, at the beginning of 2024, I was like, I knew I needed a break. I wanted to do at least the first quarter without actively working on a book. I imagined that in that quarter, I would be able to write a book proposal and then start actually writing that book, or maybe be working on what I had done for NaNoWriMo last year. I didn't have a clear plan. There's also, and I don't know if I did a plan last year either. Often I will do a production calendar for the year, or at least for the first 6 months, and like in 6-month increments of what I plan to publish, what stage of the writing, when I'm going to have to book the editor and the cover designer and things like that. 2024 has not been like that. And so there's a little bit of frustration that I haven't been further along in a book. I've been working on 2 proposals basically this whole year. And I'll go into a little bit more about that in a second. I knew I needed a break. 2023 was extremely difficult for me. If you've been here for a while, you might recall. But if you are new, going through a divorce, moving into a new place, just a lot of emotional upheaval, some professional upheaval as well. I got a new agent, a new editor at my publisher. So there was just a lot happening in 2023. And I knew that I was going to have to regroup and sort of reset in 2024. I just didn't expect it to take so long, which was probably just poor planning on my part, or just lack of awareness. I don't know. You can't put a timeline on certain things. So here we are in August, and yes, my goal for the year was to hopefully sell 2 books. We still have a few months left, so I'm getting closer to that. The first 4 months or so, I was working on The Book of Secrets, which is my 1999 paranormal thriller story that I'm super excited about. It's a book that I've been working on and off, mostly off, since I want to say, I can't remember the year now, but 2015 or 16, something like that. Originally a spinoff of other books, another book I didn't write. It's a long history. I think I've gone over it before. So new direction, I did finish that proposal. I turned it into my editor. This is my option book, so I cannot sell or publish another book of adult fantasy without because of the option in my contract with Orbit. That's how it works. So this I have to kind of get through this before I do anything else. I got feedback a few weeks ago from my editor on this proposal. So some changes that she would like to see. It was definitely not a no, but just, there were things that she found confusing. And looking back on it, I did my latest footnotes newsletter from this week. So from August 5th, I don't have a calendar, on this. So I went into a little bit more detail. Getting feedback from an editor is always difficult. I had to take some time off because I worked really hard on the proposal and it had been in a really good place. Both me and my agent had thought so. But looking back at her feedback, seeing, okay, things were very complicated, I can't agree with that. I saw some places where I could simplify. Also, I pitched it as a duology, and the feedback I got was that she was more interested in more like um, standalones, connected standalones. So that really put a spanner in the works in terms of I was looking at it as two books. I knew where the first book ended. I knew what was going to happen, generally speaking, in book two. Completing this particular story in one book requires a lot. So simplifying, making it one book instead of two, and then thinking about what is an interconnected standalone. So how would this two books, potentially more, but right now I'll just focus on two books, work when it's not a book and a sequel. Some other feedback just took me straight back to the drawing board on what this book should be. Why did I make it so complicated? How can I simplify it? And what do I want the story to be? And so that is what I've been dealing with for the past couple of weeks. Feeling blocked at a certain point, like, the story has been through a lot of changes. I went back through this notebook, which is not even the first notebook. I didn't even go back to the original notebooks from years ago. But this, and I don't know that I have dates on it. I should be dating my notebook more, but going back to how I approach story, how I approach coming up with an idea. And so I went back to my own workbooks in the course for Imaginary World Building, or I have the Story Seed workbook, which is you take your inspiration and you try to tease out all the ideas from that. So going back to what was the original inspiration for this? And I don't quite even remember. Like I said, it was originally a spin-off of a book that I was going to write that I have a draft of that has never been completed or published from the Angel series. There's two books in that series that are published. It's just never did the third one. Another point of frustration. So that original inspiration, it was a character in that book that has appeared in several unpublished, unfinished manuscripts of mine that is actually no longer even in this book. So the original inspiration I had to move away from, but from this version of it, what are the things, the core parts of the story that I'm really passionate about that I want to be in it? Like I can get rid of some of this other stuff to try to simplify it and respond to my editor's feedback. But what's the spine that is drawing me to this story? So really getting clear on that. And then what does it take to make those things happen? How do I bring about that story that I really wanted to tell and make it a reality? And I've been consulting all of my my writer people. So my brother, who's my first reader and a really good brainstorming partner, and has been with this book since the beginning, or been with me since I conceived this book, and really is excited about it. Like he loves the concept. I love the concept. I think it's a great concept. So brainstorming with my writing partners, my critique partners. I have been working with an author coach and sort of trading services for like development stuff. And so I'm providing web development for him and he's providing author coaching for me. And so talking that through and just coming at it from different sides, getting different perspectives, and then really bringing it back to myself. What do I want the story to be? What is speaking to me right now? It is really difficult when you've been working on a story on and off for a long time. You change as a person. I am a different person than I was 10 years ago, or whenever I started this 8 years ago. I'm a different person than I was 1 year ago. And so coming back to a story that you have put aside can be really difficult because I'm interested in different things than I was when I first started it. But there are pieces of it that have remained really like bright, shiny, objects, and those are going to be my North Stars. And I have stacks and stacks of note cards. Like I have even right here, like a stack of note cards from different. I'm going to probably throw all these away because they're no longer actually. And then I think this is this book too. Yeah, all of these are this book. So audio people, just like imagine, a whole packet of note cards, basically that I've written ideas on, and I'm going back to the drawing board with the magic system. And I've been kind of down about that since I got the feedback. It was hard to take, but I think that I've got a new direction after several weeks of kind of not thinking about it, working on it for a couple of days, feeling stuck, taking a few days off. And so that's Book of Secrets. That is that project. The other book project proposal that I've been working on, so after I submitted Book of Secrets and knew I was going to wait a few months to hear back, I dove right into the next project, which I'm also extremely excited about. And also, this is a newer idea. So it's not something I've been working on for years, but I'm still struggling, still hitting a wall, having too many ideas, knowing it's too complicated. Um, you know, trying to also simplify that. And then the people who I've talked to about that idea, my agent and my brother, have both brought up the fact that there are a lot of similarities between Book of Secrets and this new idea. And at first I didn't see it. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're completely different. And then they would both like tell me. And my agent said it at first, and I was like, I kind of see what you're saying. And then my brother Paul was like, he listed it out, and it was much more clear when he told me. I was like, oh, they are very different stories, but there are a lot of similar elements. So I feel like I can't even deal with that until I figure out this. And then which elements am I using for the Book of Secrets story, which has to get done, at least the proposal and synopsis has to get done first. Anyway, then I can deal with my new bright, shiny idea that I'm still super excited about. So yeah, my writing update is basically just full of frustration and pain, which is part of the process. Um, Going back to the beginning, reworking things, getting feedback, trying to structure plot, character, all of the things that I do for everything. But mostly it's just deciding what I want it to be. And that has been the hardest struggle because, and this happened with every book. I remember dealing with this with Earthsinger, especially Whispers of Shadow and Flame, the second Earthsinger book, which was the second book I tried to write. And it was a book that almost, took me out. It really was trying to end me. Because I was just assaulted by all of the possibilities. Like, what could happen? All of these things could happen. I've started something, and I had to figure out how to wrangle it. And over the past, 10 years of writing professionally, I've learned a lot of techniques and skills, and I've gotten better, but it's still really hard. It's still really hard to wrangle a book and to wrangle your ideas and to not throw everything in the kitchen sink at it, and to be able to solve problems succinctly and in a way that is like cause and effect. Writing is still hard, no matter. And I feel like I've I've learned so much, and I know so much, and I've written so many books, um, and it's humbling. It's always a good reminder. And not that I ever thought it wasn't hard. Like, I'm not out here talking about, "Oh, this is easy." But I do have processes and plans in place, and I'm using them, and they work. But at a certain point, it's just like, what do I want? And getting really clear on that can be one of the most difficult parts. And for me and my personality and the way that my brain works, it's just, I have to sit with it. I have to go through it. I have to take the time. One of my friends asked me about the revisions for my editor for this proposal. She's like, "Oh, do you have a deadline?" And I'm like, "No." And I couldn't have accepted a deadline. Sometimes deadlines are very useful. Often they're very useful for me. But in this situation, when I'm sort of swimming blind, I don't know what the metaphor I want to use is. I just feel very kind of lost. And having a deadline at this stage when I'm really just ideating and figuring things out, I don't think it would be helpful. Like in some ways, I'm like, oh well, if I had a target, but I need a target once I've gotten these things down. I need a date to follow once I have more in the can. So that is where we are with the writing update. It is going. I still sit down. I'm still, every day, 4 days a week, I'm writing, maybe a little bit more, maybe 5 days ish. Um, I sit, I do something writing related. I'm doing research. I'm doing brainstorming. I'm making notes, trying to chip away at it a little bit at a time, which is all that we can really do, right? I think I'm losing my voice too. Probably because I haven't podcasted in so long, and talking for an extended period of time tends to make me lose my voice. But I'm teaching a workshop in 2 days, so it's good practice. In other news, I came back from a trip to California, a brief trip last week, and I was helping my brother Paul. He do his directorial debut, so he directed his first short film. And I was on set. I told him, yeah, I'm going to come out. I'm just going to do PA, be a production assistant, help out, do whatever needs to be done. And as it turns out, he gave me a real job. It's a job that did not exist when I was in film school. So I have an undergraduate degree in film production from Howard. And we shot on film. This was many years ago. So we were shooting on film, getting it developed. Now everything is, of course, video. And so the job he gave me was digital imaging technician, DIT, which basically means I was responsible for, I would get to the card, the SD card from the camera, and back up the footage on the hard drives. And then I was also transcoding it because footage comes out of the camera very large, almost too large to be played on my laptop. Like it would stuttering if you tried to play it. So I transcoded it, basically encoded it into a smaller file so that they could view the dailies, and which was really helpful on set. Sometimes the actors would want to know, where was my hand and when I was saying this in the last take, or the cinematographer would want to see something, or my brother would want to review how the footage looked. And so, yes, that was my job. Also just being a sounding board for him as he went through the trials and tribulations of directing for the first time. Uh, he put a lot of heart and soul into it. It was a really cool experience. Now, I did not like pursue film production much. My first jobs after college, I was a tape dubber when we had tapes to dub. And then I was an avid editor for a while. And then I went to graduate school and sort of, did some short films, helped on some friends' short films, did some 48-hour film projects, which were really fun. But I didn't pursue filmmaking professionally because I do not like being on set, which I was reminded of 4 days on set, 3 long 12-hour days, progressively later. Like the first call time was like 10 a.m. The next day, I think we got there at like 1. So we were there till 1 a.m. And the next day we got there at 4 p.m. So we were there till like 4 a.m. And yeah, it reminded me that I don't enjoy being on set as much as people who do this for a living. Like if you are on sets for a living, you need to love it. But I did love helping out. I did actually love being creative in a new format, or a different format than what I usually am, and having that collaborative environment. It was like 40 people on set with the cast and crew, and it was invigorating in a different way. So yeah, I had a good time. The footage, since I got to see the footage every day, I got like a sneak peek into the wonderfulness that will be this short film. They are going to try to make the Sundance deadline, which is sometime in the next month or so, Sundance Film Festival. So hopefully that will happen, put out good energy into the universe, and hopefully I'll get to go to Sundance and see the film, and it will do festivals, and it will, let's put out like Oscar nomination energy. Like, let's just be completely delusional. I shouldn't say that. I should be more positive. Like, is it delusional? Or is it just hopeful and optimistic? What is the line between optimism and delusion? I personally am a realist, and I'm committed to like aggressive realism and reality, but it does stop me from like dreaming for the stars. And I do admire people who completely unironically and without feeling delusional have the biggest dreams ever and just think it's possible, because if you don't think it's possible, then it probably isn't. So I'm working on that in and of myself. And it was a great script. The acting was great. Everything turned out good. There's a great editor working on it. And I'm excited to see how my brother's first film works out in the end. And I was glad to be there. So other things, this podcast, many months ago, which I meant to mention the last time and forgot, was on a list of best author shows on YouTube from BookBub, and I will link to that in the show notes as well. I was honored and surprised to see that. I'm grateful to anyone who gets value out of the show, and hopefully I will be doing it more consistently. Like, knock on wood. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And upcoming events. I have some events. I will be in Brooklyn on August 20th, 2024 for Brooklyn Books and Booze, which is at Barrow's Intense Tasting Room. You can check out my calendar on my website for all the details. I will be in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania on September 7th at Barnes & Noble for a group author signing. Yeah, that'll be fun. And September 14th, the next week, September is a little wild for me. Newport News, Virginia for Christopher Newport University's writing conference. I am the keynote speaker. There's also World Fantasy coming up in October in Niagara Falls, which I will be attending, and Author Nation in November in Las Vegas. And then, yeah, so that's some of my travel for the rest of 2024. lpenelope.com/calendar if you are interested in those events. I would hope to see you somewhere if you are in any of those places. So let's see, anything else? I didn't write down anything else I wanted to talk about. Oh, but I did see a post. Oliver Berkman, who wrote 4,000 Hours, which is a great book on time management, which I have talked about before. In his newsletter, he mentioned this YouTube video, The Importance of Reaching a Point in Your Day When You Feel Finished. And I watched most of that because it was actually last night around 9:30 p.m. I was still working on my day job, my website development job, doing some development. This website that I'm working on right now feels like it is the work of a lifetime. It is incredibly detailed, and there's a lot of moving parts to it. And it was 9:30 and I was still working because I was trying to get to a point where I felt finished. And then I saw this email come up and it's like, the importance of reaching a point in your day when you feel finished. There is a productivity strategy where you close out the day, where you have like an ending routine where you say, I'm done today. You have a ritual, and I've never done that. Usually it gets to the point where I either have to go do something else. Like usually I'm going to the gym around 6:00 on the days I go, or sometimes it's 4:00. So I just close everything and run out. Or I'm hungry and I'm like, oh, it's dinner time. I need to eat something. And I just run out and close my browser. So I don't do this thing. And I do think that it probably is important. When I'm time boxing my schedule and I have a list of things I want to get done that day, I inevitably never get all of it done. If I don't get it all done, it doesn't feel like the day is finished. So I don't feel like I can close out the day, even though I know I'm rolling those tasks over to the next day. And I think that it would be beneficial to do this thing that I've known about, but have been resistant to. So yeah, I'm going to try my best to, before I have to run out for whatever late afternoon activity that is going to mean the end of my productivity for the day, or even on a day when I'm not leaving and I'm just leaving my office for the day, to try to come up with some sort of ritual, something to mark that I'm done. I've accomplished certain things. Maybe I didn't get done everything I wanted to, but I did a lot. Review my accomplishments. And yeah, I think that would be super helpful. It can be done, and Dollar says, I love the idea of closing out your day and creating a boundary and a container for focusing solely on you. Yeah, I think that's also a cool way to think about, like, a boundary for the day. This is the end of my work. Now I'm going to relax, rest, eat, make dinner, watch TV, read something, whatever. And not feel the guilt that I sometimes do when I don't close out the day. And I'm thinking about all the things I didn't get done. So like changing that focus and focusing on what I did do will bring more gratitude and just a sense of accomplishment that I hope I can follow through on. So that is my task. That's my challenge. And I'm going to work on that. The next episode, I do have an interview with Danny Jose Older, which I've been sitting on, that I actually haven't edited yet, but I will before I post it. And we'll see if I can, maybe recording Fridays might be a good thing for me because the weekends have been getting away from me. And I find the need to like aggressively rest after a very busy week. I traditionally record my podcast on the weekends, but I think I started out doing it on Fridays and maybe we're just going to come back to that. And yeah, so I hope that you have a wonderful week full of productivity and whatever things you want to do. Hi, anime fan. Congratulations on my podcast. Thank you for that. Congratulations on podcast recognition. Anime fan asks, I'm wondering, how are you staying motivated through so many changes of the story that you've been working on? I'm going through the same thing now. Staying motivated, it can be hard. I admit it's been difficult. Not necessarily to stay motivated. I guess the difficulty of the endeavor is just draining, you know? So my motivation is I love these ideas. I really want to see how they're going to end up in the world, you know, especially a story I've been working on for a really long time, whether it's an old idea or this new idea that has a lot of energy. It's like it would be a shame if these books didn't exist because I want to read them. I'm excited to see what comes out of my brain. That helps me stay motivated. Um, just the fact that I identify as a writer and I want to be writing, you know, and I do believe that plotting and planning is writing. Like, even though I haven't been writing many actual words, I did, you know, the first 3 chapters of the Book of Secrets for the proposal, but I do feel the loss of writing words. And it's just a thing that's been in my life for so long. And so, yeah, that state keeps me motivated. Now, getting through the changes, I admit there's a lot of frustration. And there's sometimes I felt like maybe I've touched this book, the Book of Secrets, too much. Maybe it's been through too many changes. And um, maybe I just need to set it aside for another period of time, months, years, and come back to it. That thought crossed my mind. But that felt like quitting. And like that didn't feel like an honest, you know, sometimes you do have to put a project aside when you have this sort of honest and authentic need to get away from it. I have the need to figure it out and to fix it, and that drives me. So partially, it's like setting aside the time to write and sitting here every day, having accountability partners that I'm meeting with. We're all writing, they're all going through their own struggles. Um, None of them are quite as like in depth as mine, but like so yeah, motivation comes in a lot of factors. It's like, okay, do you believe in the story that you're working on? There's a reason why you wanted to tell it. There's a reason why it should be in the world. And I think, you know you want other people to read it and you think it's really cool. So sometimes it's just hammering away at this gigantic block of marble until you find the sculpture inside. And it's a really hard task, but you can do it because you're a writer and that's what we do, right? So hopefully that helps. And just acknowledging that it's hard, you know, like a lot of people want to write books. The majority of them never do. So if you can stick with it, you're in the minority. And if you've done it before, you know you can do it. And if it's your first book, you can be that person who accomplishes that and completes that task. But it is hard, and just sit with that, you know, sometimes, and maybe today, you know, work on it, take a break and come back at it tomorrow or whatever your next scheduled writing day is. That's how I've been approaching it. Um, and talking it through with people has helped too. So when I get frustrated, I'm at the end of my rope and I'm like, I want to throw the notebook across the room. I will talk to a friend or a brother or, you know, writing partner or someone and try to work through the issue and then come back fresh another day and chisel, like do some more chiseling. That is my strategy. So hopefully that's helpful. And yeah, that's it for me for this week. I will talk to you the next time. I hope that you are having lots of writing success. And if you're not, I hope that you stick with it until you do. For episode show notes and to sign up for the Footnotes newsletter and get the show notes in your inbox, you can go to myimaginaryfriends.net, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, watch the video episodes on YouTube. You can email me at podcast@lpenelope.com. I would appreciate a rating or review to help support the show. And My Imaginary Friends is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. For more fantastic podcasts, go to frolic.media/podcasts. Bye, y'all. Have a good day. Thanks.